calm down.
Is this thing on?
Hey guys, welcome to the very first episode of the Subjective Podcast. I'm the host and creator, Donyelle, and I am so excited to be recording the first episode. I can't even literally believe that the time has finally come. This podcast has been such a long time in the making, but that's okay. We're here. I wanted to just use this first episode to introduce myself, give you guys a little bit more insight into what the podcast is going to be, what's to come. I have been working on this for so long, so I'm super grateful to everyone who has supported so far, whether you have listened to my trailer, if you've shared any of my posts, followed on social media. Thank you so much. So I thought that we would use this first episode just to kind of give a little bit of background on how this podcast came to be, what you can expect if you are listening, and also for anyone who doesn't know me, I'll do a little introduction of myself. So let's get into how the fuck we got here. The year was 2020, and just the thought of that year makes me cringe, and I'm sure that it does the same for anyone who's listening to this. I just remember spending an ungodly amount of time scrolling on TikTok. You could literally watch everything that was going on your phone, and it was such a confusing time. It was overwhelming to say the least, and I had just broke up with my cheating ex. My mom was in the middle of a divorce, and everything that I thought I knew and planned for no longer existed. I was going through a quarter life crisis. I had just moved to Charlotte a few months before, and I was there alone by myself. And, as I spent so much time alone and in my apartment, it was such a confusing time because I was really enjoying the solitude way more than I thought I would. But on the other hand, you had a disease that we had no idea what was going on with that. The government was just trying stuff at that point. And, who would have known that the Republicans were going to try to take over the Capitol? And on top of that, the police were literally on a manhunt for Black people. And I just remember wanting to call my friends and my family, my mom, every 5 minutes because I wanted to talk. And that is kind of how the entire thought of this podcast came to be. I think I had proposed it to my best friend first because in my head I'm thinking, well, if I'm going to do a podcast, I need a co-host. And she was really supportive, but I could just tell she wasn't really interested in being on a podcast at that time. And so I then took the idea to my little sister, and she was in high school at the time, and she was just like, I don't know. So no one actually said no, but I could just tell they weren't interested, and that was fine. And so for me, I kind of just let that dream die, moved on, worked on other things during COVID. And so I think it was last year in 2023, I was having a conversation with my boyfriend, and it was very casual, and I think I had just brought up the fact that I had a little bit of interest in starting a podcast. I didn't have any of the details, I didn't know what I wanted to talk about. I just proposed the idea to him, and I had never seen someone so excited and so supportive immediately with no information, no details. He's like, absolutely, yes, let's do it. Let's figure it out. There's nothing that would be better for you than starting a podcast. And I think that was the push that I needed. In case you're still a little bit confused about the whole premise of subjective, I've had people ask me, like, hey, what exactly is the podcast about? What are you going to talk about? I wanted to take a little bit of time and explain that this idea actually came about from a disagreement that I was having with someone, and we were kind of talking through our thoughts on the situation, and it was very clear that we both had completely different perspectives of how this whole confrontation went about. So I was kind of thinking about it, and I think everyone can agree that when it comes to life, when it comes to situations, we all have different things that contribute to the way that we perceive things. So, emotions, experiences, the way that we're feeling in that moment. And so, I really wanted to just explore how two people, three people, whoever, how they can experience the same situation, reality, and have completely different thoughts, ideas, and interpretations of how that happened. I feel that to really understand a situation, you have to get both sides of the story. You have to look at different viewpoints, and you have to hear the different interpretations that are very valid but subjective experiences. And so this podcast is all about those moments, the moments that shaped me, the moments that shaped you, and I want to talk about it. I want to have conversations that are real, open, honest, and if you know me, if you know anything about me, nothing is off limits. I am really excited to just dive into a bunch of different topics, talk about any and everything that comes to my mind. I am also a little nervous because although I am very outspoken and I'm excited to have this platform, I have really lived my life super private, especially after college. So I'm a little bit nervous about opening up myself, my thoughts, my opinions, my experiences to whoever, the world. But nonetheless, we're here now. I have a vision for this podcast, but I am also leaving room for some flexibility. I want it to be a mix of storytelling, conversations, and just a vibe of having a chat with your best friend, not holding back, chill, not too serious, a little serious, authentic, raw, real conversations. I think I said real like three times, but you get the point. I do want to have a few segments, and I do have some ideas for that are still a work in progress. One of the segments that I think I want to incorporate into the podcast is called Out of Focus, where I'll do a deep dive on some of the topics or situations, things going on that I'm currently hyper fixating on. And those will be a little bit out of the normal of what we usually talk to. So think random things that are going on. Like at one point, it was like Hurricane Katrina. Another point, it was freaking Princess Diana. Like it could be anything. It'll be super random, but I think it'll be fun to do deep dives on different topics and get other people's ideas and opinions on some things we can talk about. So I don't and I am not going to have a specific upload schedule just yet. I want to see how things go, see how long it takes for me to produce an episode, and then kind of adjust from there. So it's going to be a journey. We're going to go on it together. We're going to be figuring this out together. And I'll be honest, we're obviously starting from nothing. I definitely want to get the opinions and ideas from anyone who's listening or watching. It would be cool to just incorporate those things into the episodes. I'm still learning so much about podcasting, producing, storytelling, and even myself. So, you guys are going to have a front page view to this entire journey. So, at least that'll hold me accountable. So, if you're still here, this is only the beginning. Thank you for listening. I wanted to keep this episode super short, sweet, and simple. If you are watching on YouTube, please make sure that you like this video, leave a comment, subscribe, and if you're listening on any podcast platform, make sure you leave a review, share it with a friend, and follow us on Instagram and TikTok at The Subjective Podcast. I think on the next episode, I haven't decided yet if I'm going to bring my boyfriend on and talk about our relationship and how it came to be, or if I'm going to talk about the best decision I almost didn't make. So let me know which you guys would be interested to hear first. Thank you again and hope to see you on the next episode. Okay, bye.